Hyannis Fire Chief Harold Brunelle is retiring after 44 years working with the department. We take a look back at his career and find out what his plans are for the future. So Chief, you've recently made a big announcement. You're going to go ahead and retire. This is a big thing for you. You worked with the department 44 years.
44 years.
How does it feel to make that decision?
Yeah, well, it's exciting in so many ways, but it's bittersweet because this is something I've been doing most of my life, and I love every minute of it. And but it's time. Time's come, and it's also a joint decision between my wife and I. She's going to be retiring at the end of the year, so we're looking forward to that.
And if someone doesn't know, of course, your wife, Deb Brunelle, she's a teacher at Centerville Elementary.
Right.
She taught my kids as well. Both of you really have given so much to our community, being a teacher and, of course, fire chief. You started your career here in the Hyannis Fire Department. Did you know when you were growing up this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, it was, but I never thought I'd actually be able to do it because back in those days it was just part-time. When I was a kid growing up, it was all volunteer. And what we used to, my friends, my cousins and I, we used to chase the fire engines around all the time when we were kids, and we used to go to the fire station, and we knew all the firefighters at the time, and so we had that love for the fire department, but never thought I'd be able to go on full-time and make a career out of it.
And then tell us a little bit about how you got in, how you started your career with the Hyannis Fire Department.
Well, Eric Fahrenkoff, who's one of my fire captains here, he came up with an idea when we were teenagers, because we used to all play fire department, like I said. And he came up with this idea. His father was a captain on the department, and he talked his father into approaching the chief and forming this junior call fire department. And so the chief went along with it, but he said we need 10 to 12 people to make it work. And Captain Fahrenkoff had to oversee the program. And so once all that was in place, Eric went around, he spent the summer going around rounding up 10 or 12 guys. And so he asked me right away, and I said absolutely. He asked my cousins, we all agreed, and then he finally found enough people to put it together. So by October of that year, 1972, we had enough people and we started the program.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, was that a volunteer basis from the beginning?
It was, yeah. It was, we were called junior call firefighters. We were, like I said, 16, 17 years old. And that's when we started, and it was a great thing to be involved in, especially as a teenager, something that we grew up always wanting to do. And now we had this chance to do it.
And then from there, your passion continued, and you continued on with the Hyannis Fire Department.
It sure did, and by that time, they were putting on full-time firefighters. And 1974, on my 19th birthday, I came on full-time.
And the rest is history, right? You've been here.
Yeah, 42 years full-time and 2 years as a junior call firefighter.
How have things changed in the Hyannis Fire Department from when you were a teenager to now? A lot has changed. Population's grown.
Yeah, very much so. But even, Hyannis has always been the hub of the Cape. And so it's always been what I call the little city. And we have a lot of little city niceties and issues that also go along with small little cities. So that's probably the biggest change, is that over time, we've gotten busier and busier, as you said. And the population has changed. We have a big influx of citizens, and of course the summertime. It doesn't really change our call volume here per se, because that's probably the biggest change, is that Hyannis isn't really impacted by the big summer rush. We're busy all year round. And here we are in October, all morning. That's all you've been hearing is them going out on calls, one call after another, just a few minutes you've been here this morning. That's the Hyannis Fire Rescue. It's one of the busiest fire departments in the state of Massachusetts. And so that's probably the biggest change, is that we're going year-round constantly.
Another change we touched briefly on before we sat down to talk today is you were telling me when you started out as a teenager, what was the ranking as far as the Hyannis Fire Department? That's changed a lot over the years.
Yeah, it was. I'm not sure what it was back then, but when I became chief, it was the ISO, which is the Insurance Service Organization. They rate all the fire departments in the country for ability to save property. for insurance purposes.
So this is maybe what a homeowner, when they go to get insurance, that
Absolutely.
insurance company is going to look. How well does their fire
That's
department
right.
respond?
Yeah, and all the businesses. And so we were what we call a class 5. Now the rating goes from 1 to 10, 1 being the best, 10 being the least capable. And we were class 5. And last year, I just received a class 2 rating from the ISO organization. So there's only one better rating. So that was a big accomplishment. Deputy Chief Melanson and I worked on that, along with the Hyannis Water Company, because they have a big part in it also. They've made improvements. So between what we've done and they've been able to do, we've been able to go from a class 5 to a class 2.
Yeah, and as a community, I think everyone knows that you guys are on it with your call time. You're out there helping the community. Your response time is great. One other thing that you accomplished while you're here, you won't necessarily get to see the end of it while you're working here, but you really worked hard for the effort to build a new fire station, which is so necessary for Hyannis.
Well, that's another thing. Like when I started when they built the department in 1965, this station, we did 530 calls in this building. That's the year they moved in, 1965.
So 530 calls a year?
A year. Last year in the same building we did over 7,000.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a definite need for a new facility. It was never ever designed for what we're doing in here. And there was a lot involved. We had to purchase some property because we didn't have enough land here. The citizens supported us on that. And then it took quite a number of years to do all the planning and then finally get it through the vote, because we needed what they call the 2/3 supermajority vote. And took 4 attempts to get that supermajority, but we always had the majority of the citizens behind us. And that was probably the big motivator for me, is that my whole career here, we've always had the support of the citizens. Whenever we felt we needed a new piece of equipment or a tool or more manpower or personnel, the citizens had always supported us. And the same with the station vote. All 4 votes, we had the majority of the citizens behind us. And so that's been a great feeling my whole career, is knowing that we work very, very hard to provide excellent service, but we're only able to do that because we have the support of the citizens to give us the tools and the resources that we need to do it.
As you look back on your career, what sticks out most? What memories pop up?
Oh my God, there's just so many, really, honestly. It's so hard to pin some certain ones down, but the fire service, the biggest thing I could say, take away from the whole thing, is the fire service is truly a brother and sisterhood like no other. We have an instant connection when you meet another firefighter, even from another part of the world. You don't necessarily agree on a lot of day-to-day things, like maybe politics, that kind of stuff, or who you're supporting for president,
religion,
all them things can vary. But if you meet another firefighter, I could be anywhere in the world and have a problem, and I could walk into a firehouse anywhere, and instantly they're going to try to help me. And that's just the way it is.
Not all professions are that way.
No, they're not at all. It's just that's probably the best part of the job, really, is the camaraderie that we share.
What do you think you're going to miss the most?
The people, honestly, yeah, the people. And that's probably one of my proudest accomplishments as chief, is the people that I've been able to hire and promote. And we now have a female firefighting force. We have 3 females here. And we went a long time without any, and now we have some, and they've been great. They integrated into the department seamlessly. And that's one of my proudest accomplishments, is the way that it went. We accomplished that, in the way we had such a seamless transition of introducing the females to the department. Because so many other departments prior to, we weren't the first ones to do it. So a lot of them struggled in the beginning trying to introduce, but by the time we did it, it was no problem at all. And we got really talented people to come on the job, and been blessed with that.
Now, are you passing any tidbits of information on to staff before you leave?
Well, no, just in general, my attitude is, don't ever forget where you came from. Listen to to your people, and be compassionate for their needs. They're the best resource that you have, and you need to take care of your people. And if you do that, and you'll probably be pretty successful. If you ignore their concerns or don't pay attention to their needs, then and you don't listen well, then you're going to have problems.
Yeah, make everything run smooth.
Right.
Have a happy staff.
Right, absolutely. It means the world. It really does. I mean, this is a very tough job, very stressful job, and so we have a lot of fun moments because we live together, we work together, we know how to joke around. That's like a stress reducer for us, and but that's the reason why we have that capability, and we do that. Sometimes we have some silly little jokes that we play on each other. But that's to reduce the stress, because every time you go out that door in the street, we never know what we're going to be confronted with. And we see some very awful things out there, honestly. And we see people when they're at their worst. And, so you have to have a way to reduce the stress and take care of each other.
What advice would you have for someone who is growing up and thinking, you know what, this may be the field I want to go into, I really want to be a firefighter? What advice do you have?
Well, if you have that passion, that's the biggest thing that in the fire service over my career and before my years on the job, what I always found was that almost every person on this job was passionate about it. It was a calling. This is what they wanted to do. And if you have that in you, then go for it. One of the biggest changes, you asked me earlier about changes, was that not so much in Hyannis and on Cape Cod. We've always been into the EMS side of it. It wasn't called EMS when I started. It was called First Aid in a rescue squad, and now it's called Emergency Medical Services. But we've always done EMS in Hyannis. But that's one of the biggest changes in the fire service in the country, is most of the fire departments now are doing EMS. When I started, they weren't. We always did down here. And in Los Angeles and Seattle, out in the West Coast, they were big into it also, the fire departments. And they did paramedics. And we did paramedics. But that was it. So you had East Coast and West Coast that were doing ALS. And in the whole rest of the country, they weren't doing it. And most of them are now, but so we were ahead of the curve. But that's a big change. So if they're not on the Cape, if they're in some other place, you not only want to be want to be a firefighter, you have to want to get into the emergency medical side of it as well, because it's a joint profession now.
Interesting. Such a good point. What plans do you have in the future for retirement? How are you going to fill your days?
Well, like I said, my wife Deb and I, we're both going to be retiring. She's retiring, at the end of the school year in June, and we'd like to be able to do some traveling. That's one thing that we definitely want to do. We have a lot. We want to spend some more time with our children and our grandchildren, and we have a lot of projects to do. And then I'm sure we'll both find many different things, maybe some community service I'd like to get involved with possibly, and I know she's going to keep herself very busy. So not any one particular thing, but I joke and I say I'm looking forward to being able to enjoy Hyannis as a citizen, be able to go to the fireworks and just watch them, not have to be stressed out about them, and watch the parade, not be in the parade. As much as I love all that stuff, which I did my whole career, but it'll be nice to just be able to enjoy the community for what it is, and not have to be concerned about, is everything going to go right at this event? Is there going to be any problems? So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Can't wait. And I know we'll see you all over town. Yeah. Thank you so much. Congratulations to a great career, and best of luck in the future. And thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome, Sarah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.